My son Louis was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia when he was just 19 months old. His diagnosis came after just 5 days of being under the weather. He was pale, off his food, up at night crying, all of which at that age fitted with a pattern of teething. It was on day 4, when bruises started to appear all over his body, that we realised it was something more serious. We took him to the GP and we were told at 9 p.m. that night that he had leukemia. I struggled to put into words what we felt that night. It was completely and utterly devastating. I remember discussing with Jim how we were going to tell our parents, brothers, sisters, friends, as we knew they too would be heartbroken. I sat up all night just watching Louis sleep, in complete disbelief that we'd just been told that he had leukemia. We had just returned from a family holiday in France, and he had spent the entire time either in the pool or on the trampoline. Our family unit instantly changed. Louis had never been apart from his twin sister Grace, and Grace had never been away from me, and she struggled with the separation. We all missed each other terribly. The first few months were a blur, trying to get to grips with what we had to do. Hospital appointments, chemo, weekly bloods, daily and weekly medication administered at home. I can only describe it as entering another world from the one we had known. We spent the first 9 months at home. It was lonely and isolating. Louis had no immune system for most of this time and frequently admitted to hospital with infections. By this point he was 2 years old and was missing out on swimming, nursery, holidays, music classes, play dates with friends, and all the things that he had enjoyed before being diagnosed. I remember one of the hardest things to deal with was seeing his hair start to fall out in the first few weeks. We would put him to bed at night, and when he woke in the morning, there would be lots of hair on his pillow. We made the decision in the end to take him to the hairdressers and have it shaved off. Up until this point, when Louis fell over, I could make it better with a kiss, cuddle, and a plaster. When he was scared or upset, I could reassure him that there was nothing to worry about. All of a sudden, I found myself holding him down while doctors and nurses took blood or tried to access his port to do chemo. This got harder as he got older, as he couldn't really speak in the beginning when he was first diagnosed. So he would cry and scream. But as he got older, he would tell you to get off, help me, mummy. Not a day went past on treatment where I did not wish I could swap places with him. I met a wonderful registrar in the first 2 weeks after Louis was diagnosed, and she has no idea the advice she gave me that night carried us through the next 3 years. She told me to always be strong, look him in the eye and reassure him that everything was fine, even if inside you felt like crying with him. She said he will look to you for reassurance, and if you're upset by what is happening to him, it will make him more scared and upset. From that point onwards, I always stood strong and, as hard as it was, reassured him that it was okay with every procedure he had. Louis was such a fighter from day one, and I always knew in my heart he would get better. He never once sat calmly for his blood pressure or temperature to be taken. He never once sat calmly for weekly bloods. He used to run away, hide, or kick the nurse and scream. He never once sat calmly for his port to be accessed, for chemo or for theatre or for going in for a lumbar puncture. I truly believe it's this fight in him that got him through the 3 years of treatment. Louis had 3 years of chemo, steroids and other medication, and we gave him daily and weekly chemo at home. He lost 20% of his body weight in the first 6 weeks of treatment, and he did not eat at all some days. He was admitted for refeeding, and we decided to have a nasal gastric tube fitted. Although we didn't know it at the time, he needed this tube for the duration of his treatment. One of the worst things about the gruelling treatment was the effects the chemo had on Louis and his ability to do normal things. The chemo did not differentiate between good and bad cells, it just killed everything, which is why he was immune compromised for 3 years. It made him feel unwell a lot of the time and hugely affected his appetite. Louis was one of the lucky ones. Not only did he get better, but he wasn't left with any side effects from the medication. Treatment has moved on so much thanks to research. And just 6 years on, the monthly chemo that Louis had is no longer part of the treatment plan. To find a way of treating children with cancer without suffering the dreadful side effects of chemo, steroids and other drugs will be a massive leap forward. My family and I feel very honoured to be here today for the launch of precision medicine and feel very positive about the future and what it might hold for other children diagnosed with cancer. Thank you.